The most disturbing thing is that the off-communists who control the British media, totally obsessed with cracking down on shows like this, totally obsessed with cracking down on GB News and Talk TV, do not give a damn that they currently have the main host of the government-regulated Good Morning Britain show. And by the way, I'm talking about this morning, Ed Balls, hosting alongside fellow left-winger Susanna Reid, there they were, celebrating England's brilliant victory, while reported to be in negotiations to join Andy Burnham's new Labour government. I mean, this is nuts. Susanna Reid is a massive lefty. Trust me, I used to work with her. So there's no balance in that presenting lineup. But the idea that Ed Balls can hold this government to account while literally being in talks to join the next government is lunacy. So here's the reporting from the Daily Telegraph, headlined, "The Blairite Band is Back Together." And this is Annabel Denham, but it has been widely reported. In a pokey borrowed office on the 5th floor of Portcullis House, Andy Burnham is preparing for government. For the Labour MPs who are about to hand him the keys to number 10, the decisions that matter most involve personnel. Every appointment will indulge one ambition but bruise half a dozen other egos. It's why the corridor outside that parliamentary office has become a beauty parade. The MP's frustration could be compounded by the political resurrection of another Blairite figure, Ed Balls. More than a decade after losing his seat in one of the defining moments of the 2015 election. Remember, Dame Andrea Jenkins beat him. There are rumours he could play a central role in the heart of a Burnham administration. Since Balls was ejected from Parliament in 2015 by Share Tribute Act, Jenkins, I think she's much better than that, he has built a successful career as a broadcaster, podcaster, and master of the pasodoble, while his wife, Yvette Cooper, has carried the family's political mantle. Yet there is mounting speculation he could return in an economic advisory role or possibly something even more substantial. He would not be the only comeback kid. Burnham has already appointed James Purnell, the former Work and Pension Secretary, as his Chief of Staff. As David Miliband has declined to rule out a return to frontline politics, it's not entirely beyond the realm of possibility that the four great offices of state could soon be occupied by members of two families. Before you scoff at the band getting back together again like Burnham's favourite Oasis, it's worth noting that all three of these veterans are several years younger than Keir Starmer. In a more leisured age, they would only just be beginning their senior political careers. So, I mean, look, Labour can screw itself if it wants by putting the two Milibands, who are vile men who despise each other, and this weird husband and wife duo in the jobs, okay? If they want to do that, they can do that. But Kelly J, what I am absolutely stunned about is that woke ITV, which is constantly going after GB News and independent journalists and claims that it's a paragon of virtue and that it's totally a balanced operation, is allowing this farce to continue. This is a news show. Good Morning Britain is a news show. It is now produced by ITN, the people behind ITV News. And here he is this morning, apparently hosting political debate when there are widespread mainstream reports that he is in negotiation to enter government. Surely, Kelly J, at the very least, he either has to rule that out entirely or take a leave of absence while these negotiations go on. Don't miss a single update on the stories that actually matter. I'm breaking down the news every day, so make sure you subscribe to never miss a beat. Click that subscribe button right now.
Or just leave. Why can't he just leave?
Please.
Why can't he just say, yeah, I was thinking about leaving. I might get a better job, so I'm just going to leave. Or better still, why don't they just get rid of him? It's absolutely preposterous. Like, you know, all bets are off now. We have to fight relatively dirty, I think, on the right. And we have to start, you know, I would have taken a principal position maybe even a year ago and said, you know, it shouldn't matter what his wife does. He's all independent. Now I just think, you know, I don't want to commit any incitement, actually, so I better be mindful of what I say.
They'll arrest you soon enough, Kelly J, as you well know.
Let's just say it like that. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. Um, but it's quite insane that he's been allowed to carry on. And I think just reflecting on the last discussion about GB News, this is why I really do have, a lot more patience and love for GB News and what they're doing, because this is what's happening. This authoritarian control. What is it? The Great Firewall, like they have in China. It's all just so dystopian and frightening that whatever it takes, we have to just take every single opportunity on the right to try and just stop this inevitable doom that's happening to this country.
I mean, Montgomery Toms of Freedom Watch UK, Kelly J is completely right, isn't she? If this situation were on GB News, where the husband or wife of a serving cabinet minister who was in negotiations to join government was presenting the flagship breakfast show without declaring a political interest, I mean, it would be leading news bulletins. There would be calls for the channel to be shut down. Yet when it comes to woke ITV, no one is talking about this. Like no one is even talking about this being an issue.
Yeah, well, this is how the establishment operates, right? It's handshakes, it's weird donations of £5 million popping up now and again, and things like that. You know, this is exactly what kind of people of my generation are kind of exhausted and sick by, and quite unsurprised by. This is how government works. Politics is just a messy, chaotic world of who do you know, not how you're qualified, not what you're going to contribute, but who's going to toe the line, who is going to make sure they keep their head down, and who's got what on who, and what blackmail is there out there. You know, we see this even expanding, looking at the US with the Epstein files. Who knows what happens behind the scenes in politics? And I'm not surprised by this at all. It's like, I mean, what words are there, Dan? I mean, are you surprised by this? I'm kind of bored of having the conversation about, oh my gosh, the Labour government's done another mad thing. It's like,
yeah, I mean, they literally let
regularly.
Ed Balls interview. This is ITV, and the off communists had no problem with it. They literally let Ed Balls. This was the moment. Interview his own wife. They discussed their pillow talk. Genuinely, they discussed what they had spoken about in bed. The off-communists did not investigate, yet they are currently investigating Bev Turner for her, I thought, brilliant interview with Donald Trump on GB News. So, I mean, Kelly J, how can you say that is not two-tier regulation?
This channel provides news reporting, commentary, criticism, and analysis based on publicly available information. All images, video clips, and other materials belong to their respective copyright owners and are used where appropriate for commentary.
Pretty much like all regulators, they have no teeth anyway. Even if they wanted to do something, they can't really do it unless they do it to powerless people, which they seem to pick on powerless people all the time. I would like to say, just because Mr. Farage isn't here, but I don't think Farage is establishment. I know that's the accusation that's very fashionable at the moment, but I do feel like I have to defend him. I also
so
don't
going for him at the moment,
million.
Kelly J, do you think this is part of a plot? Because there is a huge amount of sort of mainstream media push to almost make life so unbearable for Nigel Farage at the moment that he just quits, that he just thinks, I just cannot do this. It's becoming unbearable. I just want to quit.
He is a man that's 3 decades in of railing against this authoritarian globalist agenda. And I think, it's naive to think that there is anybody else actually in this country that could possibly get to number 10 Downing Street and halt this madness before Armageddon of this lovely nation that we all love very much. So, I do. It's from all sides as well. It's a bit scripted, isn't it? It just, it's the 5 million, and then they unearth something else, and then all of a sudden he's a patsy, and I just want to win. I want my kids to have a future in this country. I don't want my children not to be able to look up something on social media without like a knock at the door.
So Monty, come on. Surely, even as a Restore Britain guy, you should be having some sympathy. for Nigel
Well,
Farage
look,
today?
I'm an Englishman, therefore I believe in the idea of innocent until proven guilty. So I shan't comment any further. We will see what the courts, spit out. But in terms of, a
But what about the
future.
media, though? This is actually about
Yeah,
the
you can't
media.
deny. Yeah, okay. I'm not here to try and point score. There is clearly, the media is very good at being coordinated, especially the mainstream, and I can't deny that there clearly is on all sides an attempt to push, back against Farage and reform. I'm not possibly going to argue against that, but Farage is incredibly prevalent. You could put it down to purely the fact that the media just generally hates him because they think that he's some far right figure. You wait till they really latch onto Rupert as things get louder and louder, which we did see. In Makerfield, we saw endless articles. It was just monotonous.
But Monty, you're saying well, according to reports that I've read over the weekend, legitimate reports, and actually based on my own reporting within Restore Britain. It's very, very clear that Restore Britain, if there is to be a recall by-election in Clacton and Farage runs for Reform UK, Restore Britain will run against him. Now, we've had people on this show who are more reform-aligned. I'd be interested to know if Kelly J agrees with this, who says, actually, no, that would be the moment for Restore Britain to actually say there is an establishment witch hunt against Nigel Farage. We're not going to run in Clacton. We're just going to let him win this.
Is this a question for me or Kelly?
Both. You go first.
Yeah, sure. Well, I got to say, I'm not going to talk on, what our position is, whether we're going to run, whether we're not going to run, because these are internal conversations, and then we'll announce our position on that. But I would say, say if we're going to be pushing this split the vote narrative, which I don't know if that's what you're saying, Dan, but I imagine that's the argument we're going to get from many people. Parties are designed to run in elections. If you
I'm not saying it. I
know you're not, but I'm addressing
but I know most. I know a lot of people on the right want to see a magnanimous approach from Restore Britain when it comes to Clacton specifically. If Farage has to run again, but Restore, I'm told, Kelly is saying no, we're fighting hard. We want to bring Nigel down. Do you agree with that approach, Kelly J?
I'm just going to say categorically, without Farage, there's no Rupert Lowe. Without reform, there's no Restore. I just don't get it. What do we want? Do we want to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory here, or do it like what the left do is they all gather together and they say, do you know what? We hate those people over there. Come and join us. We'll do whatever it takes to make sure.
Well, we saw it in Makerfield, didn't we?
Well, that's because the left don't have morals and principles. So,
okay, well then we need to lose ours because we're not going to get into 10 Downing Street. So I'd rather have people in power and forego my principles for the next couple of years than watch Labour have another government after this one that will be infinitely worse and will totally kill our country.
Well, that is the dividing line, right? It's a huge amount of people that back Restore Britain, come at it from a huge case of principle. The fact is, I do want to see Reform lose the next election and have Restore Britain win. Of course, I would say that because, I think that I know you've spoken about your children. I don't have children, of course, but I can speak as someone who's going to inherit a country once, people of older generations that are pioneering the future of this country are dead. And I don't think, as a young man, that Farage is going to be the person to fix that, the person that's going to forge the future. We've just seen 2 interviews from previous regarding his position on migration, including Tice.
With Stephen Edgington.
And if there is an
interrupt there, what could he say? When somebody says you're going to deport hundreds of thousands of people, a man that wants Liberal Democrats to vote for him, he wants to steal Labour Party, he wants to steal Conservatives. He can't go, well, yeah, actually, what I'd like to do is get rid of them all. We'll have a nice big boat and we'll send them off to Rwanda. He can't say that.
I think it would be so popular, though, actually.
Well, I would say, to answer that, number one, famously, millions must go. And if millions don't go and we have the continuation of what we've got, then we are going to be a minority in our own country. So I'd quite like to hear that. But ultimately, what people need to understand, and you hear this with the split the vote rhetoric as well, is Restore Britain isn't pulling in old Tories, funnily enough, or Lib Dem voters. We're pulling in 40% of the population that are completely disenfranchised.
That's interesting. And what's so fascinating about that is that was obviously Farage's game during the Brexit referendum campaign. I think it's interesting when you actually look at the polling specifically on that issue of mass deportation. It's honestly popular. even amongst left-wing supporting parties voters. So I personally, what would I want Nigel Farage to say and answer that question? And do you know what? I think he'd say it now, and it's probably because of the Restore Britain threat. Do you want to see hundreds of thousands to be deported? Yes. Yes, I do. I think he would answer that now. And I think in some ways that shows you how that Stephen Edgington interview has moved things, how the Restore Britain emergence has moved things.